Sugaridoo channel. My name is Irene and the Sugaridoo channel is all about happy crafty projects for quilting and crochet. In this video I'm going to tell you everything I know about paper piecing paper for foundation paper piecing. Foundation paper piecing. It's such a fun technique. Not the easiest to learn at first, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to make any kind of project you want to make. Something quite essential for paper piecing is the paper. There are many different types of paper for foundation paper piecing. In this video, I'll show you all the different options, and of course, I will share the one that I like the most. Normal printing paper is the easiest option because we all have it lying around. You can even use the back side of a letter that you've received. So the cost for printing paper would be 0 to very cheap. Printing paper is made for, well, printing. So printing your pattern will be easy peasy. It isn't see-through though. So transferring your pattern from a book can be a bit more tricky, but a light box or the window will help you with that. Then the sewing. Sewing on printing paper is not my favorite thing to do. It's a bit stiff and it doesn't, how do you say that, flow with the fabric, but of course it's very doable. Your sewing machine can easily sew through printing paper. After you've sewn a block, you have to rip away all the pieces of the pattern because printing paper is not washable. I won't recommend putting it in your washing machine, so you have to rip all the parts away. To make that a little bit easier, I would advise you to decrease your stitch length on the machine. And as one of you recommended in the comments, you can run your pattern through your machine without a threaded needle. So you pinch through the paper, which will make it really easy to rip it away when you're done sewing. Then there are multiple kinds of foundation paper manufactured especially for foundation paper piecing. One type is a thinner kind of paper. It is not see-through, but since it's thinner, it's way easier to rip away from your fabrics. It's more expensive than printing paper because it's sold as quilting paper, so that makes it more expensive, I guess. But it feels a bit like the paper that's sometimes used in color sketching books for children. So you could give that a try as well if you would like to. This paper you still need to rip away after you've sewn it. And then there's a more transparent version of quilting paper. The only one I know in that branch is foundation paper, and it's a see-through paper, but quite thick, and it is washable. So after you've done sewing, you can leave it behind your block. And it is quite thick, so I wouldn't recommend leaving it when you're making a quilt, but when you're making a bag or a placemat, it's totally fine to leave it behind your block. Foundation paper costs about $14–15 for 25 sheets of paper, if I'm correctly. Foundation paper is also more expensive than printing paper, but it does have a lot of advantages over printing paper, if you ask me. The paper that I use in my last two videos is freezer paper. Freezer paper is a bit harder to print on. You have to cut it on printing size and make sure it doesn't jam in your printer. Also, it's not completely see-through, but when you hold it up against your window, you can easily transfer a pattern from a book or anything. It's a cheap paper and it's easy enough to sew with because you don't sew through it when you use freezer paper for foundation paper piecing. There is no need to worry about ripping away your freezer paper for the same reason. You don't sew through the paper. Check out the tutorial on foundation paper piecing with freezer paper if you want to learn more about that technique. I really love using freezer paper for foundation paper piecing projects, especially when I make more of the same blocks, like my cute penguin friends over here behind me. You can just use the same pattern over and over again. Then my all-time favorite, tea bag paper. It literally is a paper that tea bags are made out of. I just buy a whole roll of it, and I think this will be the paper made for tea manufacturers. Tea bag paper isn't expensive. It's about €2.50 for 1 meter. Printing on it might be the only disadvantage on tea bag paper. You have to cut it to printing size, then tape it to printing paper, and then run it through your machine without jamming it. but most printers will accept that. You just have to try and see what works on your printer. This is the thinnest paper that I've used for paper piecing, and therefore it's also the most see-through. So it's really easy to transfer any pattern from a book to your paper when you use a pencil or a pen. Sewing on tea bag paper is just perfect. It's thin, it is light, it is soft, it is strong enough to not rip when you pin anything on it. It just works really well. Now the best thing about this paper is that you don't need to rip it away. It is the paper where tea bags are made out of, so they can endure wet and they can endure washing, and nothing will happen to the paper in your quilt. Of course you can rip it away if you want to, because it's so thin, but you really don't have to. So there we have the complete list. All of the papers that I mentioned in this video will get you started on foundation paper piecing. I think the best paper is the paper that you have lying around, because it will be a shame if you are waiting to start paper piecing until you have the right paper. Just pick up a paper from your printer and give paper piecing a try. My all-time favorite paper is tea bag paper though. I made this whole quilt with it, and I left all the pieces of tea bag paper inside of it, and it still is so soft and cuddly, even with the paper inside. And that is it. That is everything I wanted to say about paper for foundation paper piecing. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite type of paper for paper piecing is. I really appreciate all your likes and comments and kind words. And especially for everyone who ordered Tulip Block or the Sugaridoo Sampler ebook after my last video. Thank you so much. I truly was overwhelmed by all the orders that came in. I really love making these videos for you. And by ordering a pattern or my ebook, you support me and my business and help me continue making these videos for you. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye!